Hello everyone, I'm Nate and welcome to my channel. Today I have a yo-yo review for you. This is from a brand new company. This is a prototype, soon to be production run, probably right around May or so somewhere. I don't know if the release date has been officially announced, but all that to say, this is from Shuriken YoYos, brand new company from a guy named Ken from Hong Kong, all right? And this is the Juji, all right? This is his first yo-yo, so let's take a look at it. All right, Shuriken YoYos. This is the Juji, J-U-J-I. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. So a Juji is a type of shuriken. So shurikens are like ninja stars, okay? Remember making those out of paper back in the day? This is the shape of the Juji ninja star or shuriken. But real cool, yeah. New company out of Hong Kong. And so I'm glad that I had a chance to look at this as a prototype. I love looking at new yo-yos from new companies and to kind of see how they start. And everyone has kind of a different approach, you know. I've talked about many first yo-yos on this channel, and some will kind of shock you with something kind of absurd even sometimes, or even gimmicky, while others won't really take a risky approach at all, right? I think the Juji here, their first yo-yo, is a little bit of both. It's unique. I think it's going to stand out as far as yo-yos out there, but it's not so absurd that it's, you know, going to be gimmicky, okay? Let's talk about the construction of it. It is 7068 aluminum, and it's a fairly light and large yo-yo. I mean, pretty boxy. At first glance, it feels and looks really boxy, but the more you mess with it in hand, the more you're going to see these little, like, ever so slight marks, you know, kind of like scooping down. And you can feel them more with the hand than probably see them on camera. But yeah, you have like up in the cup zone, you have 1 and 2, and kind of like almost like you see on some of the unparalleled yo-yos, you know, that kind of like, you know, that sort of step design. It feels a little bit like that, maybe not as drastic, but it's it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Countach, a little bit slightly. It has that W shape, H shape thing going for it. A little more H shape than W shape. You know, you could kind of assume with all those sort of specs, at least looking at it on paper, that it's gonna have a little bit of a float quality. The other thing that's kind of striking too is you have this little carved in channel here. The first thing that came to mind was, and this has been done of course, A return tops. They did that with the diptych, I think it was, right? Where Jensen kind of put some paint right in there. That's my immediate thought, like with this. Like, I know it's been done, and I know it's not original, but like that's the first thing that came to mind. Or maybe adding some like colored flowable silicone in there, maybe. I don't know if that would stick in there. But it's a fairly deep canal, but paint would definitely work. If you had like a little syringe, you could put paint in there. That'd be kind of a fun thing. I might do that at some point, who knows. As I said, this is the prototype. I'm not certain all that's gonna be changing in the actual final production of it. But obviously you have enough here. He was confident enough to send this to me and to say, hey, this is pretty much where we're going. So I don't think too much is probably gonna change. And we'll talk about this more a little bit on the string, of course, but it's a smooth yo-yo. It's A-grade smooth and all that. I mentioned that it's kind of like a hybrid a little bit between an H shape and a W shape, a little more H shape than anything, and you can definitely see that a little bit more in the actual gap itself. You have a little bit of string gap here, so you don't have string drag, and it just scoops up just ever so slightly, and so that this is going to be great for horizontal and those performance, but it's not overall like a heavily rim weighted yo-yo. You know, the rims on there aren't super beefy, so this is not meant to be like a mono metal performance like competition yo-yo. It's meant to be kind of just a fun yo-yo. and I think that's what they went for. It does have little spikes, but not long enough. I mentioned this in my last review that I feel like if you're gonna make a hub design with spikes at all, maybe make them long enough that you can actually matador with them. These ones you cannot, but you should be able to finger spin. It kind of scoops in there a little bit enough that finger spinning should be somewhat centered and all that. There is not really an IRG, like defined one at least, but there's enough gap there that you should be able to pop that up and have no problem hitting a thumb grind or what have you. Grinds are also going to be a breeze with that. Huge gap on that. Like I said, really nice and huge feel in the hand. Nice and wide and large diameter as well, with it being in a light body. Okay. All right, I think that's all we're going to talk about in the hand section. Let's go and actually play it and see how it plays. Okay, welcome back to the on the string section with the Juji by Shuriken YoYos. I'm thinking back to 11th grade, I believe it was, in history class. I had a great history teacher in high school, Mr. Floof. Yeah, he was awesome. And I remember a unit that I really enjoyed on ancient Japan and all that, and we talked about samurais, we talked about ninjas. For what I remember, shurikens are only used by ninjas. Okay, so it's always interesting to me, you know, like having kids now, like one of the things that like people dress up as, like oftentimes we got pirates and we got ninjas, like two of the most like common dressed up, you know, characters. But like ninjas were assassins, man, and like pirates, all they did was plunder and other debaucherous things, but like dressed up as those kids. Anyways, I think it's funny. Yeah, so I believe the idea is, at least the theme of this whole company, is to design yo-yos that are different shapes and styles of shurikens. And so, of course, here's the Juji. So that's one style and shape of a shuriken. I don't know what's next. There are a lot. I looked up shurikens at all the different shapes on the old Google machine, and I found there are a lot of different shapes, and I don't know, but there you go. Now we know. Okay, so I'm sure this company will be educating us about shurikens, and we're going to learn a lot. But let's talk about it in the hand. Let's talk about how it plays. I really do like how it plays. It is a prototype, you know, so it's always kind of hit or miss as far as what you get in a prototype. Oftentimes you get prototypes that are not A grade. This one is very, very smooth. He mentioned that there were 4 that went out. Dylan Kowalski reviewed one already. I believe he was the first one to review it. I'm not sure who else has them, but be on the lookout for other reviewers who are getting this. And so there are 4. I believe he probably did 5 and kept one for himself. As far as the actual final production, he did mention that the Shuriken, no, not Shuriken, I'm sorry, the Juji logo of the actual style of all that will have like a little small laser engraving somewhere. I'm not sure. He didn't say where. Maybe on the cup, maybe on the rim. I'm not sure. But it will be on there on the production. Again, I believe the release will be sometime in May, so fairly soon. And be checking Shuriken's Instagram and all their other social media, but I'll have a link in the description where you can find that. I mentioned in the hand, you know, by kind of just looking at the specs, if you know you hadn't played this yo-yo, that you kind of assume it had a little bit of a float quality to it, and it does. You know, nothing crazy floaty, but just being so large and large diameter and all that, it's just kind of naturally going to have a little bit more float quality to it than maybe a mid-size or even undersized yo-yo. But yeah, it does. I like that. But it's not so floaty that I feel like it's unwieldy, uncontrollable. It does remind me a little bit of the play of, and maybe just the hand feel of the Countach. You know, I mentioned that in the hand, but that the profile and all that kind of remind me slightly of it. It's certainly not a copycat. It's its own unique design, but it feels a little bit like that. It's a larger yo-yo, so it has a little more float to it. But again, maybe it's just kind of the feel in the hand on the catch. The catch is really nice. You know, it's wide enough that the shape isn't boxy. I mean, it's weird. It looks boxy, but it doesn't feel boxy, if that makes sense, because all the corners are kind of rounded off or cut in such a way that they're not necessarily organic curves. They're more like angular curves, but there's so many of them that it feels really nice and comfortable in the hand on a catch. As far as string wraps, I mean, you can get quite a bit here. So the gap design, I mean, it's nice and aggressively wide. You know, you're not gonna have any problems hitting it for things like Eli hops, anything really that you're going to want to hit the gap. I mean, the gap is ginormous. Yeah, I mean, it does not have the craziest spin times. Again, it's not meant to be a competition yo-yo, and so it doesn't have a ridiculous amount of weight on the rims. It has a lot more like just kind of overall, you know, weight distribution all around the yo-yo. I wouldn't say it necessarily has more mid-weight or center weight or what have you. It's just kind of an overall nice balance weight distribution overall on the yo-yo itself. Let's go ahead and throw some horizontal, see how it plays with that. It really does really well for that. The shape is really, really nice for horizontal play, and you know, you have very little string drag there. You have nice gap there, and so it's going to be really nice for those kind of tricks. So even though they're saying it's not a competition focused yo-yo, it can perform with some of those things. Again, it's not heavily rim weighted, so it's not going to have like the most ridiculous spin times or the most ridiculous stability. But it performs really well, and so it has a nice balance there. It can hit pretty much what you want without compromising some of those things. Figure spins are really nice on that. It kind of naturally wants to kind of gravitate towards the center because it does dome in there, and then as the middle there kind of flattens out. Again, I wish that spike was useful. You know, it does have a fairly shorter axle, and I think that spike would have also allowed you to have a longer axle. So there's something. Little quick trick. The Juji by Shuriken YoYos. I like this yo-yo. Really nice, approachable yo-yo, but something that has quite a bit of character to it. You know, when I first saw it, you know, pictures of it and all that, before I put my hands on it, I was like, man, that's boxy. And it is a little bit boxy still, but it feels less of that in the hand, especially in the catch zone. I really like that. All the little subtle little mini cuts in this give it a little bit of extra character, in my opinion. So, and you see those sort of matching cuts in the actual bowl as well of the yo-yo. Overall, I really think it's a nice blend, actually. You know, kind of, in their own words, they kind of were gearing more towards a, you know, more laid back everyday carry yo-yo and not much of a performer or competition yo-yo. But I think it does fit some of those competition you know, performance sort of aspects. It's got a huge gap on it, very wide gap, little string drag as well. And so it's really going to be nice for horizontal play. And it's overall really huge, but it is not uber rim weighted, right? It's kind of a nice balance of weight distribution all along the yo-yo. So in my opinion, it's kind of a nice balance. Before we go, I just want to remind you of this month's contest of the Classic Trick Remix for April is Kwijibo. I'm excited to see some creativity with this classic trick. Great pop trick. I'm already seeing a few on YoYo Expert. Remember, that is where you need to submit. I'll have in the link in the description of this video as well, the original video and all the rules and so on. But make sure that you're submitting there. It is a $100 YoYo Expert gift card once again this month, and it is a random draw prize as long as you submit to the right place and you follow the basic rules. It's really not complicated. I wanted to open this up to all players at all different skill levels, and so it's worth entering. The odds are pretty good. I also wanted to mention that I have been in the beginning conversations with the creator of this trick, Taylor. My plan is to schedule an interview with him sometime this month, but I would be curious, what kind of questions would you have for Taylor? If you have a question for Taylor that you would want me to ask him in the interview, I would be curious what you'd want me to ask him. Let me know in the comments, all right? So the Juji by Shuriken YoYos, make sure that you check in the description where you can find Shuriken YoYos and all about the future release of the Juji. All right, that's gonna do it for now. Until the next one, later.